Mr. President, Mr. Speaker of the National Council, thank you, Mr. Speaker of the National Council, for the invitation and for the joint lunch. I would like to say with a certain degree of satisfaction that our mental closeness is natural. It has persisted in the past, despite the fact that each of us is in a different position today, and each of us has different duties. We have to respect the supranational dimension of Mr. President. We have to respect the supranational position of Mr. Speaker of the National Council. But our common past urges us to understand each other. Of course, there are issues where we can have certain excuses from a technical point of view, but in general, when it comes to access to Slovakia, I felt a great sense of accomplishment and understanding at today's meeting. Today, Mr. President, on the occasion of the anniversary of the creation of the Slovak Republic, the 33rd anniversary of the creation of the Slovak Republic, will make state statements. Despite the fact that 33 years have already passed since January 1st, 1993, and several days have already passed since January 1st, 2026, I would like to congratulate the entire Slovak Republic on this significant state event. Usually, we connect January 1st with the beginning of a new year, but in our hearts should also lie our own Slovak Republic, because it was created exactly 33 years ago. I don't want to stand here like a slacker. I don't even feel like it, and I feel in good shape, ready to do what I enjoy for many years to come. But as it was in the famous film entitled I Was There, where Peter Seller, a gardener, eventually became the President of the United States. And I was there on January 1st, 1993. I was there as the ambassador of the Slovak National Council. Ladies and gentlemen, no one believed in Slovakia. It was only a strong political representation, which at that time, in 1993, was in Slovakia, which guaranteed that Slovakia would survive the two hardest years of 1993 and 1994. I believe that I am sorry, my colleagues, but I have to mention the strong political representation of the then Prime Minister and President of the government of the Slovak Republic, Mr. Mečiar, without whom Slovakia would not survive. Why am I talking about 1993? Because the year 2026 is written, and we need the same strong political representation, the same strong. I would like to remind the entire Slovak public, but above all our opponents in the opposition, that we are entering a completely new quality. Perhaps we had the feeling at the beginning of the war in Ukraine that the world order was falling apart, and today we can say that it has fallen apart. Today, the world order does not exist. There is no mechanism of international law. There is no mechanism of its respect, adherence, and demand. And we have two options. Either we hide in a corner and complain, or, as a strong political representation, we will try to transport Slovakia through these extremely difficult times. It is difficult for us, in addition to the obligatory statements about the violation of international law, to take any other measures. But we live in a space which we call the living space of the European Union, where we have to pay great attention to what will happen in the coming months. I will repeat this example, and I will say it again. If someone told me in 1988, as a 24-year-old young man, that the Warsaw Pact would fall apart in a moment, I would not believe him. If someone told me 5 or 6 years ago that the European Union is on the verge of collapse, I would not believe him. We are on the verge of collapse. The European Union has never experienced such a deep crisis as it is experiencing now. And I would not like Slovakia to run like a wounded sheep. It could be a victim of significant changes that can occur in Europe. That is why I want to challenge, regardless of the fact that we have internal conflicts, internal disputes, the entire governing coalition to come together now and represent a brave and sovereign state representation that will protect Slovakia in these difficult times. I am completely convinced that at the level of the 3 highest constitutional figures, it works and will work. Because when it comes to the future of Slovakia, the idea of where our future is, that it is the European Union, we have an agreement in this, and from this agreement there will be no compromises and no deviations. Therefore, I use this statement not only in relation to political opponents and political partners. I make this statement in relation to the whole of Slovakia. The European Union has never been so threatened. Europe has never been so weakened. Europe has never been so powerless. Europe has never been so divided. Europe has never used a double standard as it does now, and we have to orient ourselves in this area. We will not have time for petty wars with the opposition, but we will focus on issues that are vital for Slovakia. I informed the President and the Chairman of the National Council that we have to start a huge fight when it comes to the price of energy. And it is primarily a question of electricity. I will not go into details. On Tuesday morning, I want to visit Ronom, the former production of aluminum, and I want to take an interest in the position that will lie in the fact that if this textbook example as Grindel was able to liquidate a healthy ecological factory as an unreasonable green ideology and destroy an important industry, there must be a way to turn this industry into a textbook example. Very carefully, Mr. President, Mr. Chairman of the National Council, we will monitor the development of the energy sector. Yes, at the end of 2027, the supply of any kind of energy from the Russian Federation should end. But in 2027, no one knows what will happen. We have to be prepared for that. No one can tell us that this will be in 2030. We do not know what will happen in March. And not that what will happen in 2030. Therefore, gas and electricity are extremely important things. We are a small country. We will not be able to compete with the number of tanks or cockpits, but we can compete with internal stability, and we can compete with energy security and independence. Therefore, Mr. President, Mr. Chairman of the National Council, I was informed that I would like to participate on Friday in the signing of an important agreement between the government of the Slovak Republic and the government of the United States of America in Washington on cooperation in the field of nuclear energy. We want to build a new huge unit purely for state ownership on the site of an existing nuclear power plant with a capacity of 400 megawatt hours. We have an advantage in terms of power generation because this plant is sufficiently prepared. A huge amount of work awaits us as far as the functioning of the European Union itself is concerned. We have an informal summit in Ukraine again. Ladies and gentlemen, come with me. 177 billion euros went to Ukraine. We have already approved another 90 billion euros, which means that we are already somewhere at the level of 270 billion. In addition, we have another 100 from the calculation 380 billion euros that went to Ukraine without any consequences. And we are not able to find a solution for a factory in Ronom, which produced 20% of all European production of aluminum in excellent ecological conditions, when pollution is 4 times lower than in the production of aluminum, for example, in some other countries. This is an area that we also have to focus on. Our position in Ukraine remains unchanged. Ukraine is our neighbor. We wish it all the best. We wish it access to the European Union based on the fulfilled conditions. And I am looking forward to the fact that we will again agree on a joint appointment of the Ukrainian government and the Slovak government. This time it could be on the territory of Ukraine, and I have invited interest. I hope that we will be able to join together if, with the participation of such an appointment, you could also meet the top 3 constitutional figures of the Slovak Republic and Ukraine at the place where such a government will take place. I repeat, this time on the territory of Ukraine. Ladies and gentlemen, we live in Slovakia in such a living democracy that other countries cannot imagine. Many prime ministers ask me how they can cope with such a huge number of political parties, with the conflicts we are watching. Yes, there are days, ladies and gentlemen, when I devote 80% of my energy to solving conflicts and not to solving the visions that this country has. But since, as I have already said, we are entering a completely new quality, the quality of life in Slovakia, the quality of life in the European Union, will the European Union be able to change to a world player, or will it be such a puppet that will only look at everything and will have absolutely no influence on anything? I am for the European Union as a union that will play the role of world power, a union that has several 100 million inhabitants, a huge economic power, a union that will influence international processes and not just look at what is happening in the world at the moment. We definitely want to be a part of such a union, and it cannot be, Mr. President of the National Council said very correctly, a priority for the Union of Ukraine. A priority for the Union must be the Union. It must be the ability to compete. It must be the ability of the European Union to show its strength. These are the priorities that I want to focus on as the President of the government. From today's conversation, I have absolutely no doubt that in the basic issues of the sovereignty of the Slovak Republic and the establishment of this state, I can refute the other two constitutional factors that stand next to me. Of course, there may be a law where the president says he has a different opinion, but that's how life is. That's the president's right. Or my colleague may say that he has a different opinion. But the question of the sovereignty, the establishment of Slovak security, the survival of our own country, we have to pull for the same purpose. And I make the same challenge to the president of the Slovak National Party, of course, Mr. Dankovi, and to the president of the Vote Party, Matúš Šutejovi Eštok. As long as the opposition is ready to be a part of this struggle for the prosperity of Slovakia, if, of course, they have other interests. Unfortunately, they have completely different interests, destructive, anti-Slovak, insufficient. We will have to deal with such trends. Once again, I would like to thank the Slovak Republic, Mr. President, Mr. Chairman of the National Council. I look forward to being present at the award ceremony tonight because I believe that Mr. President has made a very careful choice of people who will be awarded state awards. And today, even those who get all the state awards are proof that Slovakia is full of wise and good people. And we have to rely on these, not on fools and half-fools, but on good, obedient, and wise people. We have to rely on them in our work. Thank you very much.